All right, folks. So today I want to talk about iBuyers, what they are, and should you or should you not sell your house to them. So first off, I'm not really here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I just want to give you some information so you can make the decision that fits your family's best needs. Also, I want to say I'm not talking bad about iBuyers. In fact, I've partnered with an iBuyer company myself just so I can add that a little bit of benefit to a seller if they do decide to go the iBuyer route. So let's talk about what an iBuyer actually is. So the I in iBuyer actually stands for instant. So it's an instant offer. You go on a website, you fill out some information, and then you adjust your camera there a little bit, and maybe you upload some photos, and then before you know it, within about 24 hours, you have an instant offer from some company, whatever it is that you might want to, whatever number of companies that you decide to go with. Now, interestingly enough, these companies really started showing up back in 2014, and the first company was funded by Softbank. And if you want, you can do a little research on that. But actually, let's save that for another video where we talk about more of the back history of iBuyers. Let's really just focus on trying to help you make a decision on whether you should or shouldn't sell to an iBuyer. Now, they're really convenient. I mean, there's definitely a lot of pros to it. Let's kind of paint a scenario. Let's say you're selling your house and you've got to sell your current home. You're buying a house and you have to sell your current house before you buy your new home. So you're a contingent buyer. So on that point, an iBuyer can be really, really powerful because you can essentially get your home sold and everything done inside your option period. So you don't necessarily have to be contingent, right? It's kind of risky, but that iBuyer does give you that capability. There's a few other situations, but really for the most part, I think it's more advantageous for a seller to go on the market. And the reason is you pay for that convenience of having an offer within 24 hours, being able to pick your close date, being able to close in about 6 to 8 days is what I've seen. You pay for that convenience. Now, the tricky part is you never really know what that cost is going to be. Well, unless you had a time machine, right? You could sell to the iBuyer and then go back in time and put your house on the market and see what the difference is and see if you really left any money on the table. But what I've seen a lot of times is most folks, especially in today's market in 2022 and in 2021, there's a bit of a wild card factor to the market where homes sell for more than what even the real estate agent might think it would potentially sell for. So I'll give you a story, if you will. It was a listing that I just closed 2 weeks ago. So these folks inherited this house, and it was the grown children had inherited the property, and they were going to sell to this iBuyer for $300,000. Well, they decided to let me put the house on the market, and we sold for $325,000. So let's keep away the fact that the iBuyer actually charged more than what I do. Now, the iBuyers are really smart. They call it fees. Real estate agents call it commission. Tomato, tomato, at the end of the day, it's the same darn thing. But my commissions and everything were actually less than the amount that the iBuyer was going to charge. So let's take that away. Let's say everything's equal. We put it on the market 2 days later. So they had the cash offer in hand. I had to get photos and all that stuff. And then about 2 weeks later, we put the house on the market and they sold for $325,000. So that's a real clear indicator that the cost of convenience for those people would have been $25,000. So maybe that's just something you need to decide. It's, potentially something that amount of money, is it worth it to go on the market and maybe test the market? And here's the other great thing. If you do go the iBuyer route, you can get that cash offer in hand and then go on the market. And in a week and two, if you don't have an offer that beats out that iBuyer's offer, then go with the iBuyer. You didn't really lose anything. Potentially, you're probably going to make more money. Now, here's another thing I want to talk about real quick. Now, once again, I said in the beginning, I do work with an iBuyer company, so I'm not bashing them, but you do need to just kind of understand their companies, and they're owned by other companies, essentially, through stocks and different investments and things of that nature. So let's just talk about this, kind of run this through play by play. So that same home I just talked about, if they would have sold to that iBuyer for $300,000, that iBuyer would have turned around and, let's say, fix the house up and put it up for $375,000, right? Well, the family that bought the home, remember my listing we sold it for $325,000. That's $25,000 more my sellers got than going with the iBuyer. Well, that family that bought that home, they got to buy it for $325,000. So they got to buy it for $50,000 less than what, let's say, the iBuyer would have put it up on the market for. Another thing is that family gets to do the updates themselves. So they get to increase the value of that home. They get to build their wealth through their purchase through real estate. And who knows how that's going to help them down the road. If the iBuyer are taking the home, and let's say they sold it for $375, guess where all that extra money goes to? A large portion of it is going to these large overseas companies like BlackRock and, different large corporations like that. And let's be real honest, a lot of these big corporations don't have individuals' interest at heart at the end of the day. I'm not saying necessarily the iBuyers do or don't, but I am saying you just have to look at it. Large corporations have a tendency to care more about the bottom dollar than the people out there in the world. Maybe that's just my opinion. That's just something I've noticed over the years. Here's another thing I want you to think about. If you're thinking about selling to an iBuyer, I don't want to deter you from that. I want to be real clear. If that's a decision that you think is best for your family's needs, then that's what you need to do. But I would suggest that you do this. Go ahead and get that offer from the iBuyer in hand, and then reach out to 2 agents that are selling homes in your market area. And I got to be super specific on this. I didn't say 2 agents. I said 2 agents that are selling homes in your market area. Don't reach out to your buddy that does it part-time on the side and maybe they have another full-time job, or whoever lives down the street that kind of just dabbles in real estate and they sell maybe 2 or 3 homes a year. You want a real expert to come out. You want somebody that understands the ins and outs of your neighborhood, the specific unique nature that maybe your particular home has. Don't tell those agents what the offer is. Just have them come out, have them do their listing presentation, talk to them about the numbers. And if both the agents are saying that you're probably going to get a lot more than the iBuyer, well, then you could probably bet you're going to get more money going on the market than going with the iBuyer. And at least at the end of the day, you did your due diligence as a seller and you really explored your options. And if at the end of the day, you're like, you know what? I don't want to mess with the showings. It's too damn hard. I just want to sell with this iBuyer. At least then you knew that. Now, here's another thing. If you interview 2 agents that are producers in your market area, and you don't tell them what the iBuyer offer is. So I want to really emphasize that. But let them know that you're thinking about going with the iBuyer and why. You might have one of those agents might have a cash buyer themselves that would give you more money. Maybe it's somebody relocating in that has cash and they're struggling to find a house. So that would be my advice to you. I don't want to deter people from going with iBuyer companies. I just kind of want to give you a different point of view from it and also kind of point out some of the stuff that I've seen and then other ways to really explore it just so you make the best decision for you and your family. So hope this video was helpful, and until next time, have a great day.